All right, everybody. Hello. My name is Joey Laswell, certified financial social worker, licensed master social worker, and this is Main Up Memphis podcast. And we are excited to bring this. We're calling it. We're calling ourselves the Mood Dudes. I'm just going to throw it out there. But we have Emmanuel and James. They're both clinicians, mental health clinicians, and basically we're all part of the Main Up Memphis team. And I just wanted to, bring them on, share some of their experience, their expertise, and just have kind of a free-flowing conversation about mental health and issues that are going on in the world. So first off, let's go ahead and get a little introduction out of the way. So Emmanuel, I'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your clinical background, and just what are some of your interests, hobbies, and aspirations.
Right. Hi, Joey and James. It's so good to connect with you all again. Hello to everyone who does not know me. My name is Emmanuel. I am originally from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. I went to school for. Actually, I didn't never, and I'll share the story with you all. Joey and James already knows this. I didn't choose mental health or social work. It definitely chose me, and it sounds cliche, but it's the truth. When I went to school, I wanted to be a neuropsychologist, and it's like similar neighborhood, but definitely not the same street or block. But so life happened, and I ended up going to undergrad for, ended up getting degrees in psychology, social work, and sociology. Went on to do a little MSW, and then now I'm here, a mental health advocate, behavioral health consultant, love what I do. And the most fun part for me with Main Up Memphis is our outreach. This organization is powerful in the opportunities to serve others. And for me, organizations, particularly nonprofits, is what you do for others that make you powerful, that make you potent and make you relevant. And from what I've seen with just my short time so far with Main Up Memphis and the visionary Rachel, it's powerful. And I'm just happy to be a part and to be with you guys. I say we look like an ensemble cast because you would never just put us three together. But the Mood Dudes are here to stay, and I'm just happy to serve.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we're happy to have you. All right, so James, the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your clinical background, and take it from there.
Sure. Hi, I'm James. I have been in the mental health field since my undergrad in 2016. I've served in a variety of healthcare settings, in outpatient, in PHP, IOP, and residentials. Kind of spent the last 8 years searching for my clinical niche, as it were,
Okay.
sliding really hard into DBT and right now in the moment type of skills. And I'm very excited to complete my LPC while I'll be with Main Up Memphis. And then
Nice.
I'm also looking forward to working with a team and giving more talks about mental health as well.
Yes, yes. And speaking of talks, so uh, the little bit of our origin story is that we all kind of had to meet each other virtually over like Zoom and Google Meets and all this technological stuff, but we didn't meet in person until the mental wellness collective, I think it was called, at Bapt or held by Baptist. This was last Saturday, and we were all basically asked to be a part of a men's mental health workshop. And so, yeah, we started collaborating, and once we were in person, things just kind of clicked, and then we formed a triumvirate that is the Mood Dudes. Um, so we did that, we kind of wanted to recap that a little bit, talk about some of the things that came up in the session, and really just these are the kinds of things that Made Up Memphis does. We do workshops, we do lunch and learns, and yeah. So okay. So who has a good takeaway or maybe a synopsis? Which one of you guys wants to jump on that grenade? Oh,
I feel like that was delayed. But anyways, so Maine of Memphis had the opportunity to not only collaborate with Baptist Memorial Health, we had the opportunity to be a sponsor for this event. It was the Men's Collective Heart and Soul. And it was an opportunity for men to gather, men of various backgrounds, ages, ethnicities, the whole nine, to get a better understanding of their mental health and emotional well-being. So there were several sessions offered. Well, there were 5 sessions offered, as well as keynote speakers. And Main Up Memphis was a premiere session and had a great turnout. We had some people come to our session. We worked on identifying emotions and managing sad emotions, which is something that historically men struggle with, regardless of background. So we really got to break down some barriers, answer a lot of Q&A, more Q&A than I
Yeah.
think any of us expected. But that is a
Lively
healthy sign.
discussion.
Yes. But that is a great sign in these type of environments. That means those who attended are engaged and they're actively feeding on what is being presented to them. So it was a great time. Mind you, like Joey said, that was our first time meeting face to face. But when you have good stuff just works. So that's
Hmm.
what happened in that space, and it was a great opportunity to serve men in Memphis in the Mid South, and looking forward to several other opportunities following that.
Absolutely. And I'll just say that I feel like maybe the Q&A, because there was so much activity in the room, that maybe there is a need, an unmet need for men and mental health services, even if it's just in a group setting. Like I don't know, like some type of group therapy type of format. But it just seemed like there was definitely a need or desire to talk about some of these things, and there isn't really much of a place to talk about some of these things. So I don't know. What were you thinking, James? What was your takeaway from the workshops?
Yeah, we had a lot of really good questions that people were asking. Um, I thought that we would have a lot more people who are a lot more hesitant given the setting that we're in and given that it's a bunch of strangers. And you know how we are in
Mm-hmm.
Memphis. We don't like sharing information with strangers. We don't like people being in our business. But people really opened up. They were really willing to actually ask good questions and try to learn and try to better themselves. And that's something that we see in Memphis a lot, just here and there, is that occasionally somebody opens up enough to say, like, hey, I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to build something. And every so often we have somebody who asks for help, which is a little bit rare, but this was kind of an opportunity to facilitate that. And that was actually one of the topics we were talking about, was asking for help
Yes.
on Saturday. And how, sometimes we get to a point, especially as men, where we do everything in our power to make something happen, make something shake, make something move, to build something
Mm-hmm.
for ourselves. And we hit a wall. And we still have all these responsibilities to try to come through for our family, our friends, for ourselves. But when we hit that wall and we're trying to build it on our own and we're getting more and more frustrated, we tend to shut down, to enter our panic mode, and that's not helpful. So really taking an objective look at what are options for getting some help. Like, who are some people that I know? Who are some people who are trustworthy? Who are some professionals who I can go to for just this one time, and then I don't have to speak to them again after I get what I need if everything is honky dory, right? Things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think the stigma around mental health is still there, and I think it's even more prevalent amongst men. I mean, it's just not, we've come a little bit in regards to making progress towards normalizing, talking about mental health stuff with guys getting help. But I don't know. What do you think is there what do you think is the reasoning behind this hesitance to reach out for help when it's really, it's not that hard, it's just uncomfortable. What do you think, Emmanuel?
We touched on it Saturday about, so men have a dual fight when it comes to mental health. We have the stigma, and then we have the socialization of men. which I think is the fan that fuels the fire of that stigma, right? So men were socialized to be tough at the cost of expression, at the cost of health, at the cost of us, right? And we walk around with our proverbial armor and our capes, and we're always Superman and never get to be Clark Kent. And that is not healthy. It's not healthy for anybody. It's just the data shows men do it the most, right? Because society, right? And that's a very broad stroke, but you get it.
Yeah.
I think accessibility has also been an issue, particularly men who are Black, Indigenous, people of color. There has been historically red tape for accessing quality mental health services. So those are just a few barriers, but they're coming down. I want to be fair in our assessment of mental health as it stands in 2025. There are some spaces where it's almost too normalized, and people are using terminology and theoretical approaches they know nothing about, and using it all willy-nilly and incorrectly, and it's very annoying. But I'm glad to know. I'd rather pull back than try to add to. So I'm very happy to know that it is becoming more and more destigmatized as the day goes by in every male community. And if we continue to learn that vulnerability is okay in the appropriate spaces, and that we have professionals for a reason, and it's hard enough to have men to go to take care of their physical health, right?
Right.
It is such an interesting dichotomy because we pride ourselves so much on performance, physical performance, but nobody wants to go see their PCP if you have one, right? Nobody wants
if you have one, that's a good point, because most guys don't. He was like, "What's a PCP mean?"
Right, primary care physician, the people who do your routine checks. If you are only going to see a medical professional when it's time for your sports physical, you need let's check that. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of this conversation came up. There's a lot of conversation around, you got to take care of yourself and following that was for your family, for others, for your loved ones. All that's good and dandy, but you have to do it for you too. And I want us to get a healthy understanding and a healthy compass of some things are for you, right? You the person, you the man. It is not attached to some responsibility or pressure that you have, because we have enough of that, right? I want us as men to understand that we have self-care and to emphasize that self in the self-care, right? But to bring it back around, it's just as normal as when you need a haircut, you go see a barber. When you need a heart checkup, you see a cardiologist, ENT, podiatrist. It's the same thing. If you're having mental and emotional challenges, you see a mental health professional. And then we also work to delineate the difference between, just a mental health issue or challenge and then like crisis, right? Because I think people think you have to wait till the sky is falling to go talk to a therapist or a life coach or whatever your preferred helping profession is. And you don't, right? If you are having issues with your sleep, your social interactions, your appetite, these are telltale signs that it may be time to speak to a professional, because there's something brewing under the surface, right? That iceberg, it's there, and it's not going anywhere. We love to avoid, right? James did a great explanation on the flight, fight, or freeze, and all the other responses of that, and how that also drives the lack of men getting the resources and the tips and tools that we need. So I believe if people stick around, if they continue to listen to the podcast and engage with what Man of Memphis has to offer, they'll get what they need in some way, form, or fashion.
Right. Because we're also trying to help the community. Like, this isn't just individual therapy. Well, I mean, that's what we a part of our bread and butter. But like, we're trying to get into the community, and make changes, where people need it the most. Because there's, like you said, red tape. There is a cost barrier to get access to mental health services, and that's underserved populations are probably the last ones that are going to have access to the services that they probably need it maybe the most. Who knows? And I was thinking about an analogy, and I want to run it by you guys. What do you guys think about mental health professionals as like mechanics of the mind? So, you take your car in for preventative maintenance, ideally. So that's like getting therapy and doing self-care. But then sometimes something's bad, and then you got to go into the shop for an emergency, and that's when you get to like the crisis level. But like ideally, we do preventative maintenance, like get our oil changed, do tune-ups and things like that, and then our engine runs smoother. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming, but like, what do you guys think about that analogy?
I get where you're coming from, and I don't know that I agree with the mechanic,
Okay.
the mechanic archetype, because when I think about a mechanic, I want if I'm not fixing the car myself, right? Because if I know what I'm doing, I can fix the problem. The problem is done, it's over with. Same thing as if I take it to the mechanic. I want the mechanic to fix the problem. I want it to go away once he's done doing what he does. And that's not the nature of our work.
Right. Okay.
Right?
No, I like yeah.
I can be a support. I can be a pillar. I can be somebody who helps to I can pass you the water during like a sporting event. I can give you snacks or refreshments, give you a pep talk, right? I can give you everything that you need to succeed, but I cannot do it for you. I will meet you wherever in the middle you are, and I will try to coax you to at least halfway. My goal is to, if you're not meeting me halfway in the middle of our work, then to, at the very beginning, meet you where you are, try to kind of coax you along at least to 50%. Because I can meet you at 50% and have a working professional relationship with you. But eventually, if what we're doing is we're having people come in and work on goals, which is primarily what the nature of mental health is that we define some goals like, hey, I realize that I'm having problems with feeling overwhelmed. I'm having problems with social anxiety. I'm having problems with my depression, right? We make a goal around those things that you're experiencing, and then hopefully you are making the changes that get you to where you need to be, that get you into that healthy place. You might need some advice or some guidance or some directives or some activities to get you there, and I can perfectly fine giving that to you. But as far as you coming into me and, oh, my ADHD is going to be cured, it's not. No.
Yeah, I think fix is the key word that we need to distinguish, is that, we're not going to fix you because you have to do a lot of the work. We kind of pop the hood, if you want to keep the analogy going, and we look around and then diagnose a little bit, or identify maybe, okay, this, I hear a little knocking sound over here. This might be something going on here, So yeah, I like that distinction, and I appreciate you, shutting me down so forcefully. I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry. I could be more sorry. So
no. I'm just kidding. That was perfect. All right. Anything from you, Emmanuel? Any thoughts on the mechanic?
I see where you're coming
idea?
from, and I immediately loved it. But James just kind of ruined the fun for everybody.
Yay!
No. I feel like that's one of his pleasures in life is to pop the balloon. But he does make an excellent point. Oh, and I think that also drives issues with men coming to therapy because they have this thinking that, or this mindset that this person is going to fix me and they're going to get all up in my business like a mechanic does a car. It's very personal, very intimate, which, therapy is supposed to be. But, we skill build. We don't, to James' point, we don't fix anything, right? We just help empower you to do the work, right? The best we can do is sit in the passenger seat, but we're not going to, drive for you.
Right.
So I think it's a beautiful analogy. It just needs to have that caveat. Yeah.
What's the role in the hospital where you have the surgery team and there's the main surgeon, he's scalpel, and then the person is scalpel, and they hand it over? Who's that person? That's who we are metaphorically. We will hand you the scalpel. We will hand you all the tools that you need. You're the one who has to do the work, though.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll even say that just from being on both sides of the coin. I've been through therapy before, and you can have the light bulb aha moment of the awareness of, oh man, I do that, or I have this issue. But the changing part, the changing of those patterns is where you have to do the work. And I've been guilty of not doing my homework from therapy. You know what I mean? So I think that's a great distinction because what? What are you guys laughing at?
James was
No,
judging.
you said that you have a history of not doing your homework in therapy. I was like, oh, Joey, we would have words.
Yeah.
We'll have an offline session after this. But
No,
yeah,
let
so
the people hear it. Let the people
no,
hear
yeah,
it.
I think
Oh, this is
Self-disclosure.
Memphis. We don't need to
I'm
put
good
our
at that.
business out there like that.
Joey is great at self-disclosure. Like really, it's one of his tools in his Batman tool belt.
Yeah.
right. There you go. I like that, Batman. Ooh.
If we I'm going to birdwalk just a little bit.
Yeah.
But if we had to be like, what would our equivalent superpower be? I mean, superhero be just on our, much as we know about each other. Like, if you had to equate superhero, Marvel, DC, anime, whatever, who would it be? This is for all the nerds listening to our podcast.
Well, I think before in the previous booth session that me and James had, he said Thor for himself. I don't know. You still feel like
James would
I
be
think
Thor?
he's Thor.
I'll pick
Yeah, he's,
Thor just because he's very direct, and he may not be the most conventional in his methods, but he's going to get the job done.
Okay, I'm gonna come back with my answer when you guys are done. And what was
well,
yours, Joey?
in that same session, like I initially didn't have an answer, and then I went with Captain America, but I don't know. I don't really. I don't know. It just kind of felt right. The whole patriotism, being in the military. I don't know. It was a vibe thing, but yeah, I don't know. I guess that if I had to put just a pin in that one, I still kind of want to think about it, and we can refine and iterate as we see fit.
Well, I feel like I'm leaving the audience with a cliffhanger, so I'm just going to say it, and then we can come back to it in the next
There you
episode,
go.
and they can provide what they think.
Ooh.
James, I was thinking closer to Doctor Strange because you are so textbook, and I love it.
Yes.
I think it's because you're LPC, you're not LCSW, no shade. But Doctor Strange, he had to learn all the stuff before he could do the stuff. That's just my opinion. And Joey, you were really close. I was going to say Captain America, but the current Captain America. Like the Falcon that turned Captain America.
I haven't really seen that much as much yet. Okay, I'm sorry, I lost some nerd
You
points
need
there.
to watch the movie. It's really great.
Okay.
But
All
like
right,
the way
all
he's
right.
like swoops in and saves the day. And it's like peaceful but also violent. That's kind of how I see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that. That feels very nuanced. I appreciate that. So yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. That was some great. I guess this is kind of like how the sausage is made a little bit. Like what are clinicians talking about? What are we? What are we? Like when we're behind the scenes and we're talking shop. Like what are we talking about? So, if we were to pull back the curtain to just everyday average people that might be looking into therapy, what are some common myths that you've come across about therapy, and how would you dispel them for future listeners? We'll go with James first.
Okay.
Dr. James.
Dr. James. Oh,
As I'm
nice.
twisting my face trying to think of one myth.
Well, we can just brainstorm a few myths and just kind of go off of that, because
Yeah.
there are plenty. I can say like the laying down on the couch, the old like Freudian.
Oh, don't do that.
Like
No,
yeah,
we're
yeah,
gonna-
with an old white dude with a tweed jacket and a
Lord.
pipe and a pad of paper.
Okay, I got one for you. And we talked about
Alright.
this, we touched on this during the Men's Health Summit, but the idea that you're going to come into therapy and we're going to talk about all your childhood traumas, and somehow rooting around in that is going to fix whatever's going on for you right now. Sure, we can get to that eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of need you to have the skills to deal with the childhood trauma first.
Mm.
So a lot of skill building is probably going to be necessary before we can get into any of the reads that from your past are causing you problems. Because you got some problems right now that we got to deal with. That's why you came, is that things are going
Right.
on right now.
Right.
Because if it was just childhood trauma, I can put this in a box for 60 years and unpack it when I'm 80. Then yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
would do that. But things are
Mm-hmm.
happening right now. That's what brought you to counseling. That's what brought you to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's deal with that first.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Um,
a great point.
one myth that I have encountered is, for some reason, people think mental health documents and records are public. Like somebody's going to somehow know that you go to therapy. Nobody's going to know. It kind of reminds me of the TikTok sound. How would they know? Nobody's going to know unless you tell them. And again, it's becoming more and more normalized. So people, a lot of people love to say, my therapist said. And oftentimes they're talking to you and you are
Mm-hmm.
spreading this information as
Mm.
something to benefit the general public. And sometimes it does, but it's usually for you, right? Um, but nobody is walking around talking about your mental health record. It's just as protected, if not more protected, than your medical record. It is a medical
Yeah.
record.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, that's one. The second one is, and we kind of spoke about it earlier about accessibility. There are still some barriers, but it's more and more accessible than it used to be. It's not as much of of a privilege, you know. Um, here in the state of Tennessee, for those who qualify, you can receive, mental health services for free, and I do mean free with behavioral safety net. And not going to get political with the governor, but that is one thing that the Tennessee governor got right, was funding that and continue to
Mm.
funding that. And it's for adolescents, 3 and all the way to infinity. So all you need is a qualifying mental health diagnosis. If you don't have one, any clinician worth their salt can give you one,
Mm.
and you can receive outpatient services for free. Inpatient is another conversation, but also a lot of clinicians offer sliding scales. You can
Mm.
also go the nonprofit route. You don't have to go into private practice for
Can you
service.
elaborate on sliding scale a little bit for the audience?
Yeah, a sliding scale is, so every clinician or organization has like their standard billing fee for your session, but if you meet certain financial qualifications around affordability, then you can be offered the same services at a different rate, a lower rate. So that's how that works. But you have to qualify, right? You can't just be like, "Can I get a sliding scale?" It's like, sure. Can you provide so and so and so and so? So it's kind of like getting benefits or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the organization offers it, then you can get it. A lot of private people offer it. Non-profit, private practices offer it, because nonprofit is usually already kind of discounted because insurance is paying for that. But it's usually an option for those who don't have insurance and they need to pay for services, but they can't afford the standard rate. And so that's how a sliding scale works.
Okay. Yeah. Appreciate you elaborating on that because like part of what I think or I want this part of this podcast's mission is to kind of demystify the therapeutic process a little bit and normalize it. And that actually makes me think of what my myth would be, is that therapy is going to basically turn you into a, a sniveling baby. You're going to be like in a fetal position crying, and there may be tears there, and there's going to be intense emotion. So I'm not trying to deny that or undermine that, but yeah, I think some of the depictions in movies has really kind of influenced how people perceive therapy, and yeah, like speaking of movies, okay, real quick tangent, but best movie interpretation of therapy or a therapist in action.
Ooh, I don't have a movie, but I do have a TV show.
Okay,
Um, ER. I mean, I'm sorry, The Pit on HBO Max.
I've been hearing about
Oh
this
my
show.
God, they have
Hmm.
an ER social worker Love her. Now, so I used to work in a clinic. That's where I got a lot of my clinical experience and primary care clinic. So I didn't have as many consults as she does on the show. Nowhere near as dramatic, but just to see it, I can tell that they have what's the word I'm looking for?
Done their research.
Consulted
Okay.
actual clinician before they did the show. It's not just some what they think it is outside looking
Right.
in. Some of those things are so nuanced. A clinician told them that. So that is one of my favorite and most recent representations of a clinician in the field. Also, whoever DreamWorks, Pixar, Disney has been talking to about the last 5 years or so has been getting it right. Like Inside Out
Yes.
2,
Yes.
Win or Lose on Disney Plus. I'm not making this a
Okay.
commercial for Disney. Y'all
No,
don't
no,
have
no.
to
I've heard about that one too. Yeah.
please contact Rachel Walker and run that check for this promo.
Chantel.
Okay.
Chantel.
I'm sorry, Rachel Chantel. Why did Walker? Rachel, I love you, girl. Maybe that's premonition. Ooh. But no, for real. Yeah, they have been getting it right. Because as a clinician, you can turn it off, but sometimes you just have your lens on, and you can see how careful they were to get the messages across in a healthy way, and it's accurate. So I would say those are some pretty good examples. What about you guys?
I don't think I watch enough movies or TV to really have anything off the top of my head that's actually like a clinician. But a lot of Ghibli movies have a therapeutic quality to them, like Kiki's
Yes.
Delivery Service when she goes, not on vacation, but she's visiting her artist friend like out in the woods, and her artist friend is like listening to her talk about like how terrible it is that like she's losing all of her abilities and her work is going so terribly and how poor everything is going, and she's just like, I think maybe you're overthinking it. Maybe you are putting so much pressure on yourself for something that you used to enjoy that you're not enjoying it anymore, right? Like maybe we need to take another view. Or like in Howl's Moving Castle, the way that the girl gets over the curse there is that she has to change her view of herself. And it's not all the way gone. Like you can still see the effects. Her hair never turns back from like an old lady's hair into like her vibrant brown hair from when she was appearing younger. But her visual features and her physical features become younger once she changes the way that she looks at things. So I think a lot of Ghibli movies have a lot of therapeutic qualities.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's gonna make me want to revisit my Ghibli collection.
All right.
And I guess okay. So for me, I would probably have to say Good Will Hunting, Robin Williams, just kind of a classic. I mean, yeah, it's a little Hollywood-ish, Hollywoodized if you want to call it that. But I don't know. I just felt like it was a nuanced performance. He's a nuanced character, and Rob Williams did a really good job. And I think it also highlights that therapists are humans too, and
Right.
we feel and we have our own traumas and we have our own stuff that we're working through. So yeah, I just really appreciate the nuance of how they portrayed the therapeutic process. But I know some people have some critiques of it, but that's just my opinion. And then this kind of leads me to another random tangent, slightly related. Have you guys heard of geek therapy?
Is that the tabletop therapy where we start using like role-playing games and things like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's part of it. There's like a whole certification for it now. I've been looking into it, and they have.
Actually-
Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I have a colleague who is certified in that and was trying to get me into it. I did not end up looking into it though.
Okay. Well,
Seems
I mean,
He's listening.
Like,
yeah.
I hope he's listening, and I hope he texts you after this podcast and shames you.
Oh man, that's
I
usually
can only
James's
try.
job. But
Yeah.
yeah, so geek therapy. I think there's something there. It's pretty niche, obviously, and you have to be geeky, pretty geeky to administer it. But basically, you use like fandoms, and you
question.
really, yeah.
So, like, who evaluates if you're like geeky enough? Is there like a board to say, hey, you meet the qualifications to be geeky. Like, what's the litmus test for?
Oh, okay, like a
We have
geek cred.
the GDS, the geek to dork scale. If you're just a dork, you're not going to be qualified.
Oh
But
man.
if you are genuinely geeky and you know your comic history and things of that nature, then maybe you can qualify.
So what
I
if you're
think.
like a great clinician,
Uh-huh.
but you're just a few comics off? You can't get this
That's
sort
a
of.
that's a cultural competence issue, honestly. Maybe you
Ooh,
should not say that you
there we
specialize
go.
in this on your Psychology Today. I'm just saying.
There you go.
Ooh.
Or how about this devil's advocate that you're not nerdy, but you want to brush up on your nerdy skills so that you can relate to your clients better. And that's kind of some of the modalities that they talk about is that, especially if you know one of your clients is a big Lord of the Rings fan, like you can kind of like get savvy on the lore and then start incorporating that into the therapeutic process because it kind of like they can relate to it a lot easier because they're already passionate about it. So yeah, I just was curious from your guys' like professional opinions, like what do you guys think about that, and when are we going to get certified?
Oh,
When are you buying the D&D
that was
books?
always the plot. The plot.
Oh man,
And how are you
I
going
mean,
to
he
just set us up.
subsidize? Hmm?
I mean we are pretty geeky, so I mean we might as well just lean into it.
I mean,
I'm not mad
I'm
at that. I'm not
I'm
mad at
willing
that.
to. If I mean, like, as long as you're supplying the books and as long as you're supplying me with the paid hours in order to read and familiarize myself with the books
There
so
you
I
go.
can DM for people, then yeah, sure.
Well, the
This
thing
is
is,
a setup.
okay, between Made Up Memphis, our core demographic is 11 to 25-year-old youth, male and female.
Yeah.
So, what do a lot of that age range? They have hobbies and interests, Minecraft, Roblox, whatever, like. So, I think by educating ourselves and becoming more culturally competent, we can become better clinicians. So, I don't know. That's just my pitch. We'll talk offline about this, and eventually our group practice will be born.
Joey's
Don't
not
let
letting
me
me
don't,
go.
don't let me get my mind racing because it's a dangerous thing sometimes. All right, so we basically we want to kind of do this as a running feature segment, where we all get together, the Mood Dudes, and talk about mental health, talk about Made Up Memphis, and just kind of learn, teach, and grow together. I've already learned a lot since hanging out with these two guys, so I appreciate
Same.
that. So yeah,
James, you
is
didn't
there
learn
anything
anything?
that's what's that?
You didn't learn anything, James?
He already knows it all.
You're muted. You're
Oh, you're
muted.
muted.
You're literally muted.
Whoops. Yes, like Joey said, I know everything. I just can't remember it all at
See,
once.
Doctor
But
Strange.
There you go. Yeah.
no, I have learned a lot from you guys.
Nice. Yeah. Well, there's still plenty more to learn and plenty more to talk about. So, was there anything that you want to tee up for the next episode, or anything that you guys would like to talk about? That's we can brainstorm that, or even better, we can encourage the audience to send in some suggestions, some topics that you guys want to talk after hearing our vibe, seeing what we're talking about. What are some of the things that you guys would like for us to talk about? How's that sound?
Emmanuel,
Yes,
what's your specialties?
That's my specialties.
Yeah.
And what? Wait. I feel like this is
What
a setup.
therapeutic topics do you feel
Oh,
comfortable
man.
talking about that you could talk for like 10 to 15 minutes, educate the people on?
Anxiety, grief, autism. A lot of my career has been with people living with autism, youth and young adults, at-risk youth and young adults. That's pretty much it. Oh, and mental health and spirituality and religion, especially as it pertains to the African American experience. Yeah, I can give you
We
14
can
episodes
definitely
on that.
we can dig into that for sure. I'd love that. Awesome. Okay. What about you, James?
Yeah, so I also like to talk about depression and anxiety, especially as they relate to the fight, flight, freeze system, because it pops up more often than people think.
Mm-hmm.
I like looking at interpersonal problem areas like the grief, like Emmanuel was saying, interpersonal disputes, which are arguments that we have with other people, role transitions where we're gaining or losing responsibilities, and then also interpersonal isolation, loneliness. Any of those things I can talk about at length.
I'm intrigued. That's like reading a
Ooh.
menu.
Yeah, Emmanuel's eyes just lit up for the podcast audience, and he
Yeah.
was doing the Mr. Burns evil like finger things.
Excellent.
I
Excellent.
know.
Oh man. Well, that I mean, that covers a pretty good spectrum, and I might disappoint some people. Well, okay, so I guess I would have to say veterans, mental health issues. I'm a veteran. I was in the Air Force for almost 14 years and seen plenty and done plenty and experienced plenty. And then as a clinician, obviously I have a soft spot for my fellow vets and active duty. So yeah, I did my internship at the VA actually here in Memphis, and I can talk. Yeah, I can talk about that for hours and hours. And then the psychology of finance, which that's another part of Made Up Memphis we haven't talked about much yet, but the the interplay of the psychology of how we spend, why we spend, what things like that, how to budget. So Made Up Memphis does have a financial literacy program, and we're ramping that up. We're gonna basically start doing. It's a 12-week program, but yeah, we'll probably have a whole nother. We could talk about the psychology of money all day. So veteran issues, money issues, and then I have worked with residential youth, at-risk youth, juvenile justice associated youth, and then going back to the pit reference, my first job was an ER social worker. So I really do have to watch that now because that is very
Yes.
relevant. I don't know about this. I don't think I would have done it that way. No.
That's not right.
That's not
Right.
Oh man. Um, all right, so I think we got some pretty good topics already. I am curious to see what the audience, the listeners, would like to hear from us, or maybe they would like to hear less of me rambling about random things that are not relevant.
We're
But
not
that
gonna do that. We like to hear you
okay.
talk, Joey.
I'm not going to stifle my creative crazy brain.
Correct. It's your superpower.
Unless Oh man, so yeah, superpowers. We just to recap, we've talked a lot about you know nerdy stuff. We've nerded out honestly over mental health stuff. So if you know someone who's nerdy about mental health, this is going to be your podcast. Um, and to kind of highlight what the organization does. The plan is I'm going to be interviewing other members of the Made Up Memphis team, and we're going to be highlighting what they do and just kind of telling our story because this is a nonprofit, but the mission is very powerful, and we want to make a name for ourselves in the city of Memphis. So yeah. Okay, last thing I wanted to get you guys. We had a really good discussion about main up, like the term main up, because a lot of people might have questions about it. And we talked about it with Rachel in her last interview, but what does main up mean to you guys?
I can go because we talked about this before. Main up is pretty much like a call to action. Almost like saying stand up to somebody who they're saying like, oh, I have so far to go. I have to do this and the other, right? Well, you're not going to get there just laying on the floor. Main up, stand up, figure out what it is that you need, talk to people, right? Gather your resources, and let's get over there.
Mm.
Like, yes, you can take a break. Yes, you can do what you need to do your self-care and to heal. And at the end of the day, what do we need to get done? How are we going to get it done? That's what main up is to me.
Mm.
Let's put together a plan.
I like it.
For me, and hi guys, I'm still new here. For me, Man Up is a play on the toxic masculinity around man up, you know, um, like just man up or suck it up or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
to a point or in a degree where it's not healthy on a mental and emotional level, and oftentimes even physical level. I literally just experienced that with extended family. Had somebody in our family who was manning up, wanted to be the
Mm-hmm.
provider for years, decades, and had a very serious diagnosis because of it. Because he was so focused on being a provider that he neglected his health. But thankfully, he had a family and those around him to be an intervention for him, and he's much better now and on the road to getting better. So for me,
Nice.
main up, if it's a colloquialism. If you live in Memphis, a main, say main. It can be a very surface level word, but it's also can be a very intimate word. Like, hey man, I know you, man. So I think it's a play on the the opposite of man up, and is encouraging those healthy circles and spaces for men to get what they need. So that's my not vision, but interpretation of what it means. Now, Rachel, if I got it wrong, I'm sorry, but that's what I think it is. I actually would love to know if I was anywhere close to what it's supposed to be, and
Well, you
we'll
can
let the
listen
audience
to
know next week.
you can listen to my interview with Rachel, the last previous episode.
Do your homework, Emmanuel.
yeah,
We're
do-
gonna have words too.
James, what is it with you
Oh,
and homework? Do you ever
wow.
trigger
I love
around
homework.
homework?
I give everybody homework. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay, your homework is to leave me alone. Thank you.
Can
Okay.
do.
Oh, man. All right. So I guess.
Peaceful night.
Oh man, this is getting spicy. Um, so I guess I'm actually the newest to Memphis out of the three of us. So I've only been here for about 2.5, 3 years. So I'm still learning Memphis. I've been in and out of Memphis, like traveling, passing through, visiting here a couple of times, but now I'm here and I'm still kind of like a student of Memphis in a way. And that's why I learned a lot about you. We talked about barbecue places, and we still, I guess we're gonna have to do a field trip at some point to some of these places. But yeah, Maine up. As I started to learn about Maine, and just like how it's used, like you were saying, Emmanuel, it has a lot of variation to it, I think, and more, like I said, more nuance than people realize. And I think it's been interesting watching some of the reactions of people as they come up and they're like, Maine up, Memphis. They kind of like they're nodding, they're kind of processing it, and then they come to the booth and then we give them our spiel. And then they're like, okay, yeah, I like what you guys are doing, And I think I like the idea of it being like stepping up, like James was saying, like you step up, and because it's not meant only for men. This is a very diverse organization, which is why I love it so much. And yeah, so I mean, I guess yeah, main up for me is still up for a little bit of interpretation, but yeah, but step up, I really like that idea.
Rachel's gonna be like, "You are all wrong." Book attention.
We're gonna
You
delete
are
that
the
whole
weakest
section.
link. Goodbye.
Yeah, Rachel's like the Amanda Waller for me. Like,
Wait, who's Amanda Waller?
I
Should
want to know
that
what kind
reference?
of interactions you've been having with her, because honestly, how are you getting in this kind of trouble, Emmanuel?
well, Amanda Waller's like a boss, and she runs this very powerful network of like, and then I don't necessarily call them villains, and they go on these missions and assignments, and if you don't do it right, she's gonna blow your head off. So
Oh, so we're villains, huh?
yeah,
Now we're villains.
All right. Well, that paints an interesting picture of Rachel, but
Exactly. I want to know what kind of trouble you've been getting into, sir.
oh man, no, but
This
it's
is an
all out
podcast
of love.
discussion, obviously. You don't got to out yourself to everybody, but you got to out yourself to us.
it's Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, Doctor
I'm
James.
mixing universes, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, because Doctor Strange is Marvel, Amanda is DC. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to anger any of the comic book fan
Yeah, they
audience.
just took away my geek therapy certification.
I was going to say, this is how you get DQ'd from the certification, like right here, is
Yeah.
Yeah.
by mixing up your
Right,
universes.
Yeah.
Or getting Star Trek and Star Wars mixed up. That's a
Ooh.
big one. Um,
Offensive.
well,
Yeah.
gentlemen, this has been a gosh darn delight. I've been loving every second of this. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedules to kind of talk shop, talk about some mental health issues, and set the tone for what the future of this organization looks like, and what the future of maybe even mental health can look like. Because we're looking into expanding this model into other markets if it works well, and I think it will. So stay tuned to the Main Up Memphis podcast. Any last parting words, gentlemen?
I do. Please, 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 if you have any questions, please send them to info@mainupmemphis.org, or you can direct them to Joey Laswell. Its contact information is obviously a part of the podcast that you're listening to right now. You can submit any questions that you have about mental health or about your experiences with interpersonal problems, maybe with your friends or your family, or maybe you just want to check in and ask, like, am I crazy? And we can tell you yes or no. You might say yes, but just be ready for that, because I will hurt your feelings. Therapeutically.
Tough love, tough love.
Yeah. But send us your questions. We wanna answer them for you guys.
All right, Emmanuel, you got to follow that one.
Take care of yourself and tune in next time.
Yes, take care of yourself. Take care of others. Take care of your health. I will say you made me think of something earlier when you were talking about our physical health, and this is my last tangent, but sorry. That was embarrassing. Anyway, so yes, the first booth that I went to for Made Up Memphis, there was a prostate screening out there, and I went ahead and went, because I'm of that age range ish. I'm not going to say my actual age, and you guys can't either, but
You're not gonna believe it anyway.
But yeah, so I did the screening, and my results came back, and is a little on the bad side, and it kind of got me worried. So I've been eating healthier, and I'm gonna go get a follow up. So that's just my little PSA that these free screenings, or even if it's not free, then contact your PCP, which stands for
Primary care physician.
Yeah, there we go. For those who don't know, all you guys out there who don't know what that means, we're going to drill it into y'all's heads. But yes, go talk to your PCP, go talk to your mental health professional, and just be kind to each other. Listen to the next podcast. This is the Mood Dudes, and we are out.